Take a look at the space between your ring finger and middle finger. If you see a diagonal line right here, then this is the first sign that ancient Indian palmistry texts say indicates that you will inherit a significant amount of wealth from your family or ancestors. But what most people don't know is that this line alone is not enough. There are two more signs that must appear together with this diagonal line for the inheritance prediction to be accurate. And the third one is the most powerful. Hey guys, welcome back to Chariot Palmistry, where we use Indian palmistry and Vedic astrology to help you navigate your life by predicting world events, life cycles and finances. My name is Sulabh Jain, and in this video we're going to have a look at people's hands to see if they will inherit a significant amount of wealth. Now have a look at this hand over here, and as you can see, she's got the inheritance line between her ring finger and pinky. And the logic for this line indicating inheritance is that it appears on the sun mount. The sun is usually associated with success, but it's also associated with your ancestors. And when the energy of your ancestors points towards the pinky finger, it brings in the energy of Mercury, which is all about wealth. So the line running between these 2 points is wealth from your ancestors, or inheritance. Now there are a couple things to notice with this line. Firstly, we want to make sure this line doesn't curve all the way around in a bow shape to go between the index finger and middle finger. This combination is known as a Girdle of Venus, and it's normally a sign of someone with a high libido, but also someone who faces a lot of struggles in their life. If you have a Girdle of Venus where the first part of this line is the inheritance line and it's more thicker and prominent, that means you still will get the inheritance, but you're going to face a lot of setbacks throughout your life. The other combination is sometimes it turns into a simple ring where the line ends between the middle finger and the ring finger. This is known as the line of the sun. This also gives you challenges and complications in your life, as well as eyesight problems. But nonetheless, you still will get a healthy inheritance. But in this hand over here, I also want you to have a look just underneath the inheritance line for this palmistry symbol. This is known as the saint symbol, and a saint is a sign of spiritual protection. So whenever you see an auspicious palmistry symbol on the sun mount, especially if it touches the inheritance line, that amplifies the wealth given through inheritance. Sometimes you're going to see the sun line becoming very thick and then merging into the inheritance line. This is also an auspicious sign which amplifies the wealth that you would otherwise get if you didn't have this line. Now the second auspicious symbol happens in the middle of the pinky finger. Have a look at this. When you see vertical lines in the second phalange of the pinky finger, that's a sign of auspicious energy in the zodiac sign of Scorpio. And Scorpio naturally rules the 8th house in astrology, which is also for astrology and hidden wealth. Vertical lines are always a good sign of receiving money from unexpected sources or from hidden sources. So these are people who inherit like family jewelry or gold and silver. It might have been valuable when your great-grandmother bought it, but then you inherit it and it's worth a fortune. That's what vertical lines here represent. However, if you have horizontal lines over here, that's a sign of malefic energy in Scorpio. These people might get cheated out of family wealth, or they might even have bad energy put onto them. And the third and most important aspect of inheritance is to look for 2 parallel lines on the sun mount. And whenever you get 2 lines in parallel, that's normally a sign of sudden wealth coming into your life. Sometimes this can happen through inheritance, but also through lottery wins or cryptocurrency investments, things like that. And the best combination for this is when these parallel lines come from this part of the hand. They kind of curve upwards. This is known as a line of good karma. So when you combine your good karma with 2 parallel lines bringing sudden wealth into a palmistry symbol, which in turn goes into an inheritance line, that's a sign of a lot of auspicious energy coming your way. So let's have a look at some examples to see if we can predict if someone will get a family inheritance. So have a look at this hand over here, and you can see this person does have an inheritance line. There's a strong sun line which merges into it, and we really like the look of that. There's also a temple symbol just underneath it. In fact, that temple symbol is formed by two parallel good karma lines. And so we really like the look of this. You're also going to notice there's some vertical lines in the area of Scorpio too. So we can say that this person is going to inherit a lot of money. However, because of that temple symbol, this person will most likely set up their own charity and give a good portion of that money away. Now here's another interesting example. This person has a thick inheritance line, but you'll notice it cuts all the way across his hand and cuts into his lifeline at a very early age. And what happened with this person is his grandfather actually passed away at the age of 10. And his grandfather left significant wealth to his father and to his uncle. But his uncle cheated his father out of a lot of that wealth. And we can see the father line ending with a fork, which is a sign of a difficult, argumentative relationship. So the question then is, will this guy ever actually get his inheritance back? If you have a look at his pinky finger, we can see there's very thick horizontal lines, which tells us, yes, he was actually cheated out of his inheritance. But there's also vertical lines here, which says maybe he's going to get that back. Then we have a look for parallel lines coming onto the sun mount, and we can see that there's two of them just over here. And they actually form into a temple symbol. So I'm actually confident that this person will actually get his inheritance back from his uncle who cheated his father. It's not going to happen until later on in his life because those two parallel lines are very far up on the palm. If they were lower down, then I'd say he'd get his inheritance at a young age, but it's going to come later in his 60s. And here's another interesting example. This is the hands of a man who used to be in the military. He didn't earn a significant amount of money in his life. However, his father was once a wealthy man. His brother actually cheated him out of his inheritance. He made him sign some documents when he was really young, and he didn't get a share of it at all. He's currently in the process of going to court with his brother and wants to know if he's going to win. And so the first thing we look for is the inheritance line. And unfortunately, we can't see it here on his right hand. We then have a look at his pinky, and there are some vertical lines here. They're not thick or prominent, but there are also some horizontal lines. And so we can see he's been cheated. We can see that there's a small chance he might get it back. So then we have a look for parallel lines on the sun mount. And there are kind of two parallel good karma lines, and there's two parallel sun lines too. But again, they're not as thick or prominent as the previous examples I just showed you. What this means is that it's unlikely this man will get his inheritance. He doesn't have the inheritance line, he's got the line that he's been cheated, and his good karma unfortunately just isn't strong enough to bring that money back to him. But he does have some good karma lines, which means he may not specifically get the inheritance he was expecting from his father and brother, but the money will come to him through some other means. Sometimes wealth can be stolen off you, but the universe will find another way to give you an equivalent amount elsewhere. You see, this man's son has settled in Canada. He's got two other sons, one of whom's a well-paid professor, and the other one is well-paid in the mining industry. And these three kids together have given him a significant amount of wealth. Now, if you want to see how these good karma lines work, especially if they're parallel on the sun mount, then click on this video over here where I show an example of a woman who won the lottery 3 times. Thanks a lot, guys.